Hey, Alena here, your mommy tantrum specialist. And today I could also say a burnout prevention specialist. And I'm literally forced to practice what I preach today. Those of you who are watching the video version of this podcast episode, you can see that I'm sitting in a different spot than I usually do. And it's because I'm right in the middle of our 3-week holidays. Last week, we were hosting my family here in Paris. So there's lots of laundry around me still hanging that I washed over the last 2 days after they left. And then on the right side, what I have that you do not see, luckily, is already 1, 2, 3 suitcases that we started packing because we are preparing for the next part of our holidays. And that's going to be back home in my home country in Czech Republic. We are going to attend a wedding of my brother. So that's going to be amazing. And if that happened, like this kind of accumulation of happy time off, yet for a mom who also is a business owner, you can imagine like 2 years back, I would be completely going crazy. My energy would be like this. I would be shaking with stress. I would be running nonstop. I cannot say 24/7, but for sure, like 18 hours a day. My brain would be running and I would be constantly busy preparing, planning, packing, stressing. So this is just like one of the proofs for me. Not only I can hear it from my clients every week, when I meet them in a group or individually, I can see what a difference is making in their lives. But I keep being reminded in my own life what a difference it makes. And especially the first part, me cleaning up all of my childhood trauma and the patterns that my mom used to have, because she was exactly this. She was the stressed out supermom. But then also the mental fitness, which is the ongoing practice that I chained right after I work with somebody and I help them like remove that trauma and any negative patterns from the past. Then we need to keep reinforcing and applying to new challenges that life will keep throwing at you. I'm sorry to break the news, but I bet you already know this. Once you overcome one drama of your life, there might be another one, and just brace yourself. Sometimes it's an increasing tendency. So this is also what this podcast episode is going to be about, because usually I talk to you about how to stay calm about your kids, but today we will talk about your parents, because what happens if you are already stretched out to your limits, you are already so busy and overwhelmed with everything you have to do, and then on top your parents get sick. Like, hey, life, thank you so much. I was not asking for more. I was asking for less load. Like, thank you, but not thank you. So this situation can get very heavy, because then you will feel like you're in the middle of a sandwich. Your kids and your own family is pushing from one end. And then if your parents start to require some of your time, attention, emotional availability on top, like then you might feel like you're squeezed in the middle of a sandwich. And that's something that happened to one of my clients recently. And this is my favorite podcast topic, like, or strategy, let's say, choosing the topics for this podcast is to pick what's going on for my clients, because I keep telling them and I will keep telling you until you're sick of me, like hearing it from me. Your story is unique. You are going through a unique experiences throughout your life. Nobody has the same life as you do. That's why, by the way, I don't like any parenting cookie cutters, because how can they fit to you and specifically to your kids and your situation and whatever happened that day and that week, whatever. Okay, my rant about parenting done. But while being so unique, there are some common denominators. There are some common themes or patterns that we all have in common. Things that we are all going through, maybe at different times. So maybe if it's not you struggling with your parents being sick right now, then you can maybe leave this podcast episode for later, or just listen in through curious mind. Maybe there's something similar. Maybe there's like your friend who's sick. Maybe it's your partner, your spouse, your husband or wife who's sick. So Your situation might be different, but the themes, what I'm going to share in this podcast episode, I bet it will be relevant at least for like 80-90% to you too, even if you're going through something different. Okay. So that's just my introduction. Now, the situation, if it is really about your parents, it's triggering, especially like it's different than if it's your friends or somebody close who's sick. Might be different modification, because if it's your parents, it's not only that you feel the pain for them, you might feel in pain for yourself. You're hurting, and it's heavier because it's your parents, and because usually your inner child gets triggered, like the little you who believed your parents are immortal, that they will be here forever. And I say it with a little smile, but it's true for all of us at any age. Luckily, if you know anything about my story, I lost my mom when I was in my late 20s. I still didn't feel ready for it. I know about lots of cases. Some of my friends lost their parents much earlier. So then, of course, you're never ready to lose your parent when you're a child. But I have worked with clients who were well over 40, 50 when they lost their parents, and they were still not ready for that. And I know now I'm talking already about losing them. Nobody's like, this is not the episode. They're just getting sick. But getting sick is the first reminder, like, oh my goodness, it might happen. And this is the fear. This is what triggers the overwhelm of emotions, the fear of death, of their death. And then eventually it's a reminder for your own life. Like, none of us is here forever. None of us gets any second takes or second chances. This is not a movie. This is not a do-over. It's once and it's done. And then it depends on your belief system, what you believe happens after. But for this one, that's it. So that's why the parent sickness is so triggering, because usually if they are the people who brought you up, the emotional connection is normally incredibly strong, even if there were disputes throughout your life. But it's a reminder. It's a reminder of what might happen later on. That's why it's so triggering. Now, usually then it depends if there is something that you can do physically for them to help them. So if you're living in the same town or nearby and you can be visiting them and you're supporting them through them being sick, that's one thing. Usually what's more difficult is if you're living too far away, like being even expatriate. So not only living in a city that's too far, maybe even in a different country, maybe even in a different continent. It's not that easy to just hop on, like get in the car and in 15 minutes you're there. Maybe it's like several hours flight, and you cannot just take off without your family and leave all your work and everybody behind and jump off to be with your parents. So that's the situation that I would like to focus on even more, because me being an expatriate, I tend to work like there. I sometimes work as a magnet. I tend to attract lots of expatriate women in my circle as well, who are going through something similar. So I'm going to talk about that scenario when you cannot be there physically, which is even heavier, because then there's also the guilt joined with it. There might be also the pleaser voice in your head, because you would love to be there, not just for them, but also for you, to feel like you're a good daughter, right? If you're really being honest, really, 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 there is, if you've been raised like me, the good girl, there might be part of it as well that makes it feel like I cannot, and I feel like I should, I have to, and I cannot, and it makes me feel guilty for all of these reasons. So check in with you if that's your case right now. If your parents are too far away and you feel like you should be there, and maybe they are reminding you, maybe someone else from your family is reminding you or making you feel guilty, or maybe none of that is happening and you are beating yourself up because you cannot be there physically. So check in with you. Which of those is your scenario? And even if you hate journaling, I would really encourage you to write down the voices in your head. Why? What are all those negative emotions? Where are they coming from? When you feel them, when you feel that guilt, the pain, maybe there's like, for me, I felt selfish. Like I'm putting my career, because my mom was sick. I didn't have a family yet, but I was living abroad by myself. I was working and I was feeling like I'm selfish, that people will think that I'm too career oriented, that I didn't pack everything and just come home. I felt that pressure and judgment from others, even though nobody told me in my face, not even my mom, like nobody ever made me feel guilty about it, but I was making it so. So whatever those voices are in your head, write it down so that you know what you're dealing with. Okay. Now for my client, what I heard from her sharing, there was a huge part of when we talk about the part of your brain that gets you in the fight or flight, we talk about voices that are saboteurs, that sabotage you and your ability to do something about the situation. Like they take away your power. So her saboteur here that was triggered the most was the victim. So I felt a lot of hurt, but from her perspective. So yes, it's painful to see your parent in pain, but she was also feeling sorry for herself, right? And poor me, I cannot be there. And this kind of like, I'm the victim here as well. So check in. And I'm sharing that. I really say that with all of my compassion, because I was locked in my victim corner. Not even that much when my mom was sick or when she was diagnosed, but especially after I became a mom, like that was for me completely not manageable. And it's not an easy thing to see. You will not want to see it because you will feel like somebody is attacking you. If I tell you, check in, is there a victim voice in your head? You'll be like, freaking not. How do you dare even telling me something like this? The situation is messed up. That's it, period. I'm not going to pretend there are like unicorns and rainbows if it sucks, and it does. So I will take a step back in that case. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that you should start seeing all like you should put on pink sunglasses and pretend there's nothing going, like that there's nothing painful going on. What I want you to hear though is, where is it that you're making it heavier for yourself than it would have to? Okay. Because the moment you let that victim voice in your head drive how you feel and what you choose to do or not, that moment you take your power away. Because by being in the victim mode, you say, well, it's like this, and they are saying this, and I'm too far, I cannot do anything for my mom or dad. And so I'll just sit here and complain and feel sorry for everybody and how unfair life is and how I cannot do anything. And kind of back off with your arms up. Nothing I can do. This is what victim does to you. The victim voice is in your head, right? That's why I'm really encourage you in a very compassionate way to catch it. Okay. Because what is the other side? Now, what becomes possible when you catch it? Okay. The first thing when you catch that there's been a victim voice in your head is to catch its lie. You will see or hear how what it's telling you is not true. Is it true that you can do nothing? Is it true that you are the poor you that has no power, that's suffering? Does it have to be that way? And that's not to trigger your hyperachiever to keep doing more and more and keep being stressed out even more. No, 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 no. This is the invitation to accept what the situation is. So if you need to grieve, if you have already lost anything or anybody, grieving is the perfect first step. Like I had to grieve my mom's health. I still remember the day. And if you read the trauma book that I co-authored, and it's on my website as well, if you read that chapter where I share about my mom, I can still, till today, I can picture where I was standing when she told me she was diagnosed with cancer. And that was for me like the biggest shock of my life. And then I had to grieve. I had to grieve the health of my mom, because I knew she was never going to be the same. Because either she's going to fight it, but then it will still lurk always at the back of my mind when it's going to come back, which it did. She managed to overcome it once, but the second time it came back, she didn't. So that's the grief. So I knew she was never going to be the same. I knew she was never going to be healthy, and I knew I could lose her sooner or later. It was coming. So I had to make peace with that and accept that things will never going to be the same. So is there some grieving that you need to do first in order then to be able to accept the situation? Well, this is what it is. Sometimes you don't even know if it's diagnosis. You have to wait for it. There needs to be tests and blah, blah, blah. The longer it takes before there's clarity on what it is, it might be even more playing on your emotions. But the grieving is the first step. Second step, accepting that that's what it is, and that you have no control over it usually. You can help them get better doctors, better care, put them in a different hospital, whatever. Do that for sure. But you need to accept that, okay, that's where we are right now. Okay. Only then the third step can be, all right, so now what? What is it that I can do without driving myself crazy? What is it that I can do for my parents and for myself to still be able to remain calm and at peace? Okay. Because being in stress about it and in the victim kind of pain about it, that's the easy way out. That's the natural way out. So no judgment here. That's like the first natural reaction where we go automatically, but that's the easy way. The alternative that I'm proposing here takes much more mental fitness, much more awareness for you to realize that the victim way doesn't help anybody, not even you. It helps you in a way that you can just throw your hands in the air and say, okay, that's it. I'll just swim and bathe in my pain, and that's where I will stay. The alternative that I want to share here with you is to switch to what we call in mental fitness, we call it SAGE. That's your wiser elder self. You can imagine that's like sometimes people call it like the wisdom voice or intuition voice, or the goddess in you, or the universe whispering, the God whispering, whatever label you want to give it, it doesn't matter. It is within you. And that, I will call it SAGE from my mental fitness perspective. That SAGE, that part of you, will then be able to tell you that there is always a way. There's always a way. Whenever it feels like you can choose only between black and black, or that there is like a zero exit, it's the dead end road, the sage will tell you not true. Keep looking. Keep asking your smart brain, what else is there? What is there that I can be doing? Even if I'm far away from my parents, what can I be doing? And this was I will share my personal story with you, just like one example. It was way before I even knew about mental fitness. It was really when my mom was diagnosed, I decided to go and study abroad, work abroad, do 1 semester of an internship abroad. After my mom recovered from the first, she was just finishing her first treatment for the first cancer that she was diagnosed. So I got her blessing, like, go, I'm good. I'm here with dad and with your brother. I'll be fine. I'm healing. It's okay. Go. So that was actually the first time I went abroad. And she was recovering. Then she got diagnosed the second time. So she was going for the second round of chemotherapy and everything all over again. And I was not there. I was already living abroad at the time. So I felt terribly guilty. It was only an hour and a half flight, but still I couldn't be there for her every day. I was flying as often as I could, but felt like it was not enough. So what I decided to do, this was my sage talking to me, even before I knew what it was, even before I labeled it. I decided to do what my mom did for us when we were sick with my brother. She was reading books by our bedside, right? And our favorite books to read together was The Little Prince from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, if you know. The Little Prince. And now, so I couldn't be there physically with my mom reading the book for her, but I asked my colleagues at work from the IT department to give me like a software where I could record audio. Because at the time, imagine, it was Stone Age. I couldn't do large audio files just on my computer with some software or app that's online. I couldn't. It was way before that time. So they gave me some links. I don't know how I did it, but we managed. And I was recording one chapter of the book. She had to actually scan the book for me. I found the first chapter online somewhere for free. So I read the first chapter for her. It was a surprise. And I sent her the recording so that she would have it in the morning when she woke up. Okay. And so she saw that first one, and then she was calling me like she was completely crying. She was in tears, and she felt so touched that I did something for her. And then I told her to actually scan the other chapters of our book that we had at home on the scanner so that I could read the following chapters. So it became our habit. I read the entire book for her. So I don't even remember how many chapters there are. But every evening I recorded one chapter. I sent it to her mailbox so that when she wakes up in the morning, she could listen to it. She could stay in bed, close her eyes, listen to my voice. Oh my goodness, I'm going to start crying. She could listen to my voice, and it's as if I was there with her. I'll breathe through this. I don't want to do edits to this podcast episode, not on the video, because then it would be too much work. The podcast version I'm cutting, I'm editing, but I'm not editing these videos. So give me just a moment. I'm okay. So that's what I did. That was my way, one of the ways, one that came from top of my head. One of the ways that I felt still close to my mom. When she was going through all that pain, when she was going through all of her fears, but I wanted her to know that I was there with her. Even though I was not there physically, I was with her in my heart. So yeah, so I'm going to turn the tables on you. If one of your parents is going through some physical challenges right now, what is it that you can do? Stop listening to that victim voice that would want you to believe that there's nothing. And instead, after you take some moments just to connect with them in your heart, connect with your parent from your heart, just think about them. Feel the love you feel for them. And ask yourself, what is it that I can do to make them feel my love? So that they know I'm there. I'm there right there. Because your energy, your love doesn't know any limits, not in time, not in space. They will feel it. They will appreciate it. Right? That's why it is so important to disconnect from the blah, blah, blah. in your head and start listening with your heart. Okay. I don't have any magic wand. I cannot make your parents healthy again. You cannot do that either. But you can navigate through any difficult situations, including your parents being sick. What we also say in mental fitness, and I'm going to close with that thought, this is really the ninja level. It takes more practice, is that there is a gift and opportunity in every situation, including messed up stuff like this. There is a gift and opportunity. For me personally, my mom getting sick was the opportunity to realize that life doesn't stop for anybody. It doesn't wait for your kids to grow up. It doesn't wait for you to finish this project at work. It doesn't wait for anything. Like stuff will happen. And usually it's at the worst time. That's how it feels. Like this is the worst possible timing. Well, this would be your victim talking again, judging the situation, wishing it was different, hoping for a miracle. Now the hope dies last. But what I want you to where I want to encourage you is to stop waiting for a miracle. Go ahead to meet it halfway and do what you can do, because there's still a lot you can do for your parents so that they feel your love. Okay. That's one of the opportunities that you can choose to see in this, to really enjoy all the moments that we have left with your parents, also with your kids. None of us know, luckily, how much, like, what is our expiration date. So realizing that it helped me to be more in the moment, to live more in the moment and not like in my calendar, planning so far ahead in the future. It helped me live right now. It helped me appreciate all the moments from then on that I had with my mom. I never, ever afterwards took them for granted, the time I had with her. And I tried to kind of like engrave all of them in my memory. So let this be your reminder too. And your sage, once you connect with it, your wise elder self, can then help you come up with more opportunities on how you can turn this into a gift. You know my story, and I keep saying it so often. My mom eventually dying, I was so afraid not to end up the same way and pass away so early. So I made it my mission to share my story and share what I learned. It took me a lot of time, even after my mom was gone, but I figured it out on how to be calm, at peace, and more balanced, I would say. How to stop putting busyness, like being busy and so overworked and overscheduled. I stopped making it my strength, my badge of honor. And I learned how to actually breathe and maybe do less in quantity, but more in quality. So things that I choose to do, I do my best to do them with my full heart and my full presence, so that then it counts. Right? So may this be just another inspiration, another example of how you can generate a gift or opportunity from your current pain right now. What is it that you can do for yourself or for others? How is it that you can inspire yourself to transform your pain into a blessing? Or how you can help others do the same, right? So this was more emotional for me than I expected. I hope you don't mind. I hope I didn't trigger you. I'll wish you all the best. I wish you all the best to your parents if they are sick right now. They're lucky to have you. And I'm sure they know it at some point, or in some part of their heart and mind, they know it. So just make sure you take care of yourself in this process as well. Make sure to disconnect from all the negative blah blah in your head. The indication, by the way, or the red flag that you can use is any negative emotion. Anytime you feel any negative emotion, it's a reminder for you to check in what's going on inside. And it doesn't have to be that way. Not pretending the situation is not messy, but even throughout a messy situation, you can stay calm and at peace. Feeling, if not optimistic, then feeling accepting. That's what it is. So let's take it from here. Not fighting it. Because that fight, that resistance, any of these negative emotions, they take away your energy, they take away your power. And you need that. You need that to be able to navigate through it successfully for you, for your family, for your parents, right? So anytime you notice any negative emotion, check it in, see what's the lie in it, and flip it to your sage. What is the gift and opportunity here? What is it that I can do? How can I connect with my heart? And how can I work through it so that I accept what is and I connect through my heart? That's the best you can do. Once you connect, you will know what to do. What is the right step? All right. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know. Send me an email. Send me your story. I'm always here listening. Sometimes all it takes is just a listening ear. So if you need a listening ear, let me know. I'm here. Take care, Supermom.